Hello, everybody. Great to see you all. I'm excited to be talking at UTS today about, there we go, about application security. I think it's a topic that's not talked about all that often, especially in university circles, and I'm happy to tell you a bit more about today. So, who am I? I am Cole. I am the CEO of Glass Cyber. We are a application security consultancy. We go to different companies that are enterprises or corporate institutions or startups and scale-ups, and then try to help them do AppSec. And since it's a pretty new area, we're having a lot of success, growing tremendously. If you're interested in coming and interning it with us in the future, please hit us up. We've got a stall outside. A bunch of you already taken away some of the plush galahs that make cute noises. So if you want a galah, please let me know. We have to get rid of them. Also, really nice notepads too. So anyway, away from spruiking me, this is my team so far. Bunch of us, we went off to CSECcon. Hey, hands in the air. Who else has been to CSECcon? Yeah, I see there's a blinding light there. I can't see anyone over there, sorry. But up in the middle, yeah, good. I beat my brother at Guess Who for New Zealand Birds. You probably had a chat with him, hopefully earlier than not. If not, he's in the audience there, go annoy him. So, and I regularly do a lot of different AppSec events around the country. This is a recent forum I held over at Atlassian's office, just talking about different types of problems that we all see with different institutions around Australia. So firstly, I'll pay respects to the Gadigal and Gurungai people of the Eora Nation. Now, UTS. I'm a Newcastle boy, a Novocastrian, right? So I got out of Central Station, I was like, where's this UTS thing? I don't know. And I saw the Northern Star in the sky. And I was like, oh, that's great. Get here, look across the road, and I'm like, whoa, that's beautiful. What is this thing? So that blew my mind. I was amazed. So the only thing we've got is, in Newcastle, we had this for a little while. It's called Queen's Wharf Tower, and it got knocked down a few years ago. Can't imagine why that would be. So, but that made me very sad. So that's our, I guess, monument, that area. So, promise to you guys today, I'm going to teach you about what AppSec is. You're going to learn a bit about the industry and why I think it's a fantastic career offering for all of you, and what you can do to move into it, because I don't think enough of you people are taught about secure development at university. Is there a software security course at UTS? One or two subjects. Oh, that's good. That's an improvement. It's getting there. So, AppSec. Well, what is it? Anyone want to put their hands up as a guess? Oh, yeah, we've got some people. Dali tried this, and that's not particularly helpful, so I'm hoping that you can do a bit better than them. So,
is it application security?
Yes. Oh, big brain. That's it. So I checked out a bunch of vendors on the internet as well, and they created beautiful things like this. It's like, whoa, it does all the things, threat analysis, SAS component scanning, dynamic scanning, a bit of everything. It's too complicated. I was just do everything everywhere at all points in time for security during a software development lifecycle. Just do different types of tools and just throw them all in DevOps pipelines. And I think that is tremendously confusing for people, and it's overwhelming. So I just say, just do a little bit of security where you can when you're doing development, right? That's a lot easier than having to go back to these and be like, yeah, I'll just learn that, all of that. So anyway, some things that you can do, and you've probably heard of, it's like threat modeling. People done threat modeling exercises before? No? Got dev training. Go out and teach people about secure coding. I've heard a few talks over the last couple of days where people have said things like, oh, they just left an API unauthenticated for Optus. Maybe if the developers were taught to put an authorization check there, they'd be okay, right? But also the admin password, that was hard-coded from the talk just before. We try not to let people do that. Code reviews. As much as we like Pedram's, you saw Pedram's talk earlier today, a lot of you as well, right? Yes. So we do a lot of code reviews as well. People make mistakes as engineers. I like to push people to use safe frameworks by default, but that's not always going to be the case, and we don't always get the choice to choose the technology we work with. So I've seen PHP and COBOL and Cold Fusion and all sorts of horrors from the legacy 90s, right? You're all just nice Node.js JavaScript people, right? Happy land? Yeah. And then there's all that automated stuff we talked about as well, because no matter how good you are as an individual, you cannot scale to deal with millions of lines of code. Apps are really complex nowadays. So, yeah, that's a bit boring. It's okay. I know there's no coffee cart here, so if you want to have a sleep in this talk, I'm okay. I won't be able to see you. The lights are in my eyes. So yeah, a meme, wake you up. Yeah? Or is it just me? All right, so should you look for a career in application security? Yes, I'm biased though. So, Mark Andreessen. Has anyone heard of Andreessen Horowitz? A few, you?
Heard the name, don't remember why.
Yeah? Got a few people know? So there are a couple of people that made some technology like back in the 90s that were quite successful. You may have heard of Mosaic or the browser. Yeah. So they got really rich off of that and decided to make a venture capital firm investing in software companies, right? And in 2011, he wrote this essay where he says that I'm the co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz. We've invested in Facebook Group on da-da-da-da. We believe that many prominent new internet companies are building real, high-growth, high-margin, defensible businesses. This essay went, like, everyone thought he was an idiot in 2011. I mean, like, in 2011, we thought the cloud was this, not this. It was like, there's these things, right? We had cool memes. I'm getting old now, so like, if you guys remember End of the World or Badger Badger or Numa Numa, then all good. So, yeah, people didn't do this with the necks all the time, and there was the iPhone 4 just came out. So, big companies like Skype, Twitter, Groupon, Zynga, Netflix. I think the only one of those here. They exploded. They were really popular back then. So, if software was eating the world in 2011, how about today? What do you guys think? Tough crowd. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, he says that every company is a software company. You have to start thinking and operating like a digital company. You can no longer procure a solution and deploy it. It's about, if you have to think of yourself as a digital company now. And we're seeing that everywhere in the market. Telstra, just recently on their financial report that came out a few weeks ago, they say our investments in innovation, technology, and digitization and networks is improving our customer experience. Westpac, central to our plans is the digitization of our business. In 2021, we did a new mobile app. Prime Minister and Cabinet ensure technology and infrastructure planning reflects the current needs and future needs of Parliament. So like all the really big institutions are investing in digitization. And I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm going to guess it's got something to do with software development. And outside of big enterprises, we have a tremendous amount of startups who are coming in. Who works for a startup or a scale-up here? We've got a few Canvas and Atlassians. I guess they're not really startups or scale-ups anymore. Judo. There's a lot, so many of them around nowadays, right? And software is defining the world. We have networks, infrastructure, DevOps pipelines, like IAM, IDPs, your apps, your operating systems, they're all coming out and being defined using software now. It's a dynamic field, and you're challenged to keep up to date on what's happening in the engineering world and balancing that with security requirements. So no pressure. I was at AppSec a few months ago, and I basically was talking about this kind of thing, but I actually narrowed the scope down exclusively to static analysis. So if you think about all the different things that are within here, even with all my, my basically long career in AppSec, this is the only one that I really know in depth. So there's a lot of work, and we need professionals that go out there and learn these different things and to help people with stuff, right? And just an example, that's like 30 static analysis tools that cover different languages, different types of vulnerability classes, and have different use cases, whether it's engineering velocity or trying to identify security bugs, right? So how did I become this person, though, who's happy to wear a galah shirt on stage and have a bunch of galahs I'm happy to squeak? That don't make noises when I want them to. There you go. Well, I got into a grad program. Have you guys applied for grad programs? First years? Yeah, it's all good. You'll get there eventually. Internships, cadetships, whatever. Go work somewhere. So I did the ATO one. They had a very different marketing campaign at that time, but this is what I found online. So we got to sit down, and the security team comes in on like our first 2 weeks, and they said, oh, we have so many cool opportunities for graduates. Come work in digital forensics, kick down doors, get hard drives, get justice. Or the red team, we are the only thing stopping us hackers from breaking in by identifying vulnerabilities in advance. And then so I was like, the AppSec guys, I just do code stuff, like whatever, just juggle it all, right? Yeah. So anyway, I was like, yeah, juggling. That's all right. I'm going to do that. And then he was like, yep, see ya, I'm going to go make a SOC. So that was a very good experience for me. So I learned that I had inherited AppSec as a graduate, and I was supposed to do recursively learn every file and every technology thing, right? So I tried this. It seems to have worked out okay now. But it was really hard at first. I started with just like reading code. I was like, oh, I'm just going to read things and find bugs that way. That's how you do it, yeah? And yeah, you'd come across stuff like 123@spe.com and the password's 123123. People were still making those mistakes in 2014. Still making it in 2022, apparently, Optus. And then I was like, well, I can't do this and like deal with like my deductions, my tax, ATO online, single touch payroll, whatever else programs are coming out of the ATO at this point. So I ended up investing in building a business case to get into automation. So we purchased a big static analysis tool called Fortify and started implementing that throughout developers' life cycles, right? Like the SDLCs. And I read basically everything because Fortify had a great library of like different vulnerability classes and how they're problems and how you go fixing them. And I was marrying that with OWASP, so I wasn't stuck on, I'm just going to learn C# and that's it. So I was like, oh, okay, I've done this for a while. I've learned lots. I've got to teach other people about it, right? Yeah. Who am I going to teach? Let me think. Where do I find some students? What's a good place where I can get some impressionable youths that don't know much about security, but like, the grad program. So I stole a bunch of graduates and said, come work for me. These people are chumps. All they're doing is sitting there waiting for write blockers to just like stop people from copying hard drives across, and then they just get to expense travel money. That's not cool. Like, why would you do that? Like, red teaming, that's just hitting your head against a brick wall repeatedly. Like, why don't you just come and do and solve all problems everywhere at once? And the grads like, yeah, this is good, much better marketing, yeah? So they came across, I built a team, static analysis and DevOps. We did dev training internally, and helped feed risk, because risk is a big part of it, but you guys don't care about risk yet, so we'll deal with that later. And eventually I realized I actually was a juggler. There's too many things. So Westpac comes along and they're like, hello there. Come do the AppSec. Please. So I was like, oh, it just ticks all my boxes. No management anymore, less responsibility, more pay. Oh, brilliant. I get to go play Monopoly Deal every lunch and pretend like I'm doing work. I get to go out and have beer all the time. Yeah, of course, I'll be a banker. But banks are interesting. They have a lot of money, but they're extremely large institutions and have extremely complicated technical environments, right? So it was a challenging place to try to do AppSec. It's like an elephant. It's big and just kind of, it does its thing, one step at a time. Just, it'll say, I'm going this way. I'm an elephant. There's a Newcastle permanent next to Westpac there, right? So, and I'm like a mosquito. I'm sitting there every now and then biting into the elephant, just annoying it, really trying to get it to go in the one direction. And over time, hopefully you can irritate the elephant enough that it actually changes course a little bit. But I got really sick of the bureaucracy and I decided, you know what? I can't do that very well. So I was thinking, maybe banking isn't where I want to be. So I don't know if this is really what I want to do, is have no management, less responsibility, more pay. How about I instead think about it? And I did, and I said, well, why don't I actually do management again, get even more responsibility, get more pay, and have a more technical challenge rather than a bureaucratic one. So I was going to go overseas. Yeah, that was great. So I signed my contract in January 2020 to go to San Francisco to go work for change.org. And then they said, no, this was hard. The coronavirus came out and said, you've got to work remotely. So had a lot of fun with that. Moved back into my parents. That was an interesting experience. So played a lot of Fire Emblem, Free Houses. Yeah. I wanted to do a lot more of this and a lot less of waking up really early in the morning. So I ended up getting rid of that job and saying, oh, I guess I'll start a business. And that's why I have a bunch of birds and a cute little pink logo, right? But everybody's pathway into AppSec can be very different. That's just mine. And I know a lot of different people have come through graduate programs and ended up in AppSec just because they wanted to do pen testing. And then they were like, oh, actually, this is pretty fun. I interviewed a bunch of different people who I'm good friends with about their experiences of getting into AppSec. Tactical water break. I was a PM in a prior career and I wanted to live in Australia. I networked and I picked up an AppSec job in Telstra. I've never coded before. And now she's a general manager there, right? I was a pen tester and I hated finding cross-site scripting over and over again. AppSec just made sense to me to focus on fixing the problem versus just continually identifying it and not actually being able to do anything about it. I was a teacher. I was always into technology. High school software design development was stressful. So I found an opportunity to try teaching in a tech space, and I found AppSec. I love building things and always had an interest in cybersecurity. AppSec just made sense. I had no idea roles existed in the space. That's why I'm doing a talk. I hate my mechanic job. What is AppSec? Is it a good place? Well, looking at you. So like I'm saying, there's a lot of diverse pathways to get into application security. You don't need to be a gun programmer. You don't need to come out of straight out of university. A lot of people are just happy to hire people with the right attitude and who just are good communicators. So let's focus on some of the things you can do if this sounds like an interesting area for you guys to go work in the future. So does anyone know these different technologies, or a couple of them at least? How come none of you are cringing? All the logos are wrong. That's the Vim logo up the top there, and you got Angular for React. So look at GitHub. That's correct, right? Love myself some GitLab. They're disgusting. No one wants to look at it. The light's gone down apparently. So, so I'd say getting into different types of technologies and being able to recognize that these are all wrong is probably a very good thing. So the other thing is actively doing a little bit of coding. I know I said it's not the most important thing for everybody, but I find it is one of the best things to be able to do, because if you can read code and you can write code, then you have much more productive conversations with engineers. So I like doing the advent of code. I'm really bad at computer science problems, but I felt really smart one time when I realized that I was going to use a hash map instead of adding elements into an array and exhausting my MacBook's processor. So big brain, yeah? So Advent of Code's really good, runs every year. It's just a small little programming exercise that's Christmas themed. I've been doing it for 5-6 years, and I always use Golang. I don't know why, this is my language. So yeah, like I said, if you can code, that means that you can be empathetic with developers, understand the frustrations they have on a regular basis. And if you can't, that's all good, there are other pathways as well. So yeah. I also recommend learning a bit about DevOps. So anyone used Jenkins, Bamboo, BuildKite, Code Pipeline, something like that does CI/CD? GitHub Actions? No galahs. DevOps is where we usually run most of the static analysis tools, composition analysis, whatever. It's a good place to give developers immediate feedback. So I'd just be putting it into these places. So learning about the tools helps you understand how stuff goes into production and what you can do to introduce security controls earlier. Speaking of production, in the past, we used to have network security engineers. We used to have a lot of infrastructure specialists, but nowadays, all of our cloud infrastructure is getting spun up with Terraform. Terraform's code. So just being able to know code that instantiates your AWS infrastructure is really awesome. So go learn your cloud environments, but don't muck around in the console. Go write the code to spin up the console. Threat modeling, engineering architecture, being able to have discussions about why you should be using WebAssembly versus just native requests and responses. Why do people use an EDA instead of a traditional monolithic application? Something that you'll all learn at university, I'm hoping, or at least continue learning after university to get good at it, right? These are real-world challenges that happen on a regular basis. So, main thing, find something you care about, that you're interested about. It's really hard to study things that you don't care about. Things I don't care about. I know Alex already covered a lot of things he's useless at, or they are useless at. I also have lots of areas I'm completely useless at too. So Kubernetes, I think it's a terrible idea to learn. So I got no interest in it. And anytime someone comes along to me and says, "What do you think about like an admission control policy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sounds, just do it. Like, why not? All good. Let me go over here." So I have a lot of gaps in my knowledge, and I'm accepting of that. Communication. This is one of the hardest skills to develop, and also one of the most important skills. I did a presentation earlier this year at ComfyCon to talk about how to write. I know, very, very boring topic, right? Oh, there we go. So what I'll say is that, I guess I can plug myself. Go have a look at that presentation sometime. But being able to communicate in plain English, being able to present about these topics, and being able to distill very complex things into something that's just easy for people to understand is a career skill you should really work on. Flex that muscle, get strong. And humility. I know I haven't done humility this whole preso. But basically, I'm pretty dumb on a regular basis. In fact, my wife calls me dumb every now and then. So it's everybody knows their technology far better than you do. You're an AppSec person. You know security pretty well. You might have done like 2 or 3 years of Ruby on Rails development. But when the graybeard comes in and he's like, "So how does active records specifically work in this niche use case?" You can just say, "I don't know." And that's fine. But trying to get out of that kind of conversation and pretending you know what you're talking about is going to absolutely destroy your credibility. And then it's really hard to work with people if they don't respect you. Look at good resources online. So I know the last presentation covered OWASP. I think OWASP is great. There's a lot of good content on there. Don't just stick to the top 10 because that's just like the entryway into like AppSec for developers. There's also the ASVS, which is the Application Security Verification Standard, which is a very comprehensive list of AppSec controls. You could look at the testing standard if you want to do penetration testing or web security. All of these have been written for people like you to learn and consume and learn about the industry because we need more people in security, right? I like podcasts like Absolute AppSec or Risky Business. So go and have a listen to those. Just get used to different nomenclature that we use within the security industry. Portswig is good. SafeStack has just released free AppSec training for all students globally. So go have a look on them. That's really good if you want to get into it. And read the standards. So has anyone read the email standard or the URL standard? Nah, they're very boring, but extremely effective if you're trying to learn about security. You don't need to know everything. You just need to have enough knowledge about a bunch of broad different topics and be able to apply security principles to it. So don't be scared if you're completely overwhelmed. I was like that, and I still am. So yeah, back to my promise. You now have a general idea about what application security is. You know why it's an increasingly important and valuable career path. I have some tips on how to move forward. So I'm Cole, CEO of Glass Cyber. Hope you all enjoyed CSECcon, and thanks for having me here. Do we have any questions? Nah, everyone's stunned.